can you describe like why you recommend these quiz funnels?
All the reasons that we've been talking about, Sven. Quiz funnel. So a quiz funnel, just to describe what that is in action. Most people think, is it like one of those Harry Potter quizzes that you like take online? What Harry Potter character is your dog? Take the quiz. No, has nothing to do with that, right? Those are entertaining quizzes. What we're talking about here is when someone lands on your website, instead of doing what most people do, which is you try to sell your offer or you try to get them to get your lead magnet, give me your email address and I'll give you my, free report or my free ebook or whatever. Instead of doing that, you begin in a very conversational way by asking a series of questions so you can better understand that person, what they want, what their challenges are, and then ultimately recommend the best next step for them. Now, quiz funnels, when we talk about neuroscience and psychology, are incredibly compelling because what you're doing is you're tapping into the power of self-discovery. The thing that people care more about than anything else, doesn't matter if you sell backpacks or Lego or anything in between, is themselves. Tell me more about me. Right? We are all our favorite subject. And when you think about the promise, the usual promise online is what? Click the link below to get my free ebook versus click the link below to find out your unique results. It's a much more compelling promise.
Yeah.
And we see across, we have a software technology platform. We've had over 12,000 quiz funnels built on our platform. We have access to over 200 million data points. We've operated and helped clients build quiz funnels in 47 different languages around the world, 63 different countries. So this transcends culture, language, it's universal. And what we see time and time again is the following: cheaper leads. People are able to cut their cost per lead by anywhere from 30 to 90%. Higher conversion. They're able to get 2 to 3 times the sales conversion on the back end of a quiz because instead of selling in a one-size-fits-all way, what are you doing? You're customizing your sales message based on a person's responses. And number 3, on top of all that, is you have higher satisfaction rates among your customers because you not only are better selling, but you're better serving as well. You're giving the right piece of content or the right offer to the right people at the right time. So you have higher open rates on your emails, higher click-through rates on your emails, higher engagement on your stuff, lower refund rates. I mean, the benefits are immeasurable. Now, people always want to know, well, what's the catch? Like, why don't more people do this? Well, number one, it takes some work, right? Sort of like, we all know the secret to getting healthy is what? Eat less and exercise more, right? How hard could it be, right? Eat less, exercise more. But it's still not easy to do. Like we still, get into lazy habits. So it is a little bit of work. And the devil is in the details. It's not one of these things that you can just slap a fake quiz on your website and hope for it to work. You truly do need, there's a lot of science and psychology in the questions that you're asking, the language that you're using, best practices around things, number of questions, number of answers, how you frame them, images, no images, optimizing for mobile. So there are a lot of best practices that we've learned having done this now for the last almost 15 years in all of these different markets, but we found it to be more successful than anything else. Everything from businesses that, literally start at ground zero, have no business, no list, no market, no nothing. They launch a quiz and they're making $10,000, $20,000 a month. And when it comes to a quiz, there are only 3 types of quizzes that we've seen. And this is a fun little exercise. You can do it right now in real time if you're curious, and anyone watching this or listening to this can do this as well. 3 types of quizzes. We call them type, killer, score. So the exercise is to think about your business, your offer. Which of these 3 types of quizzes do you think is the best fit for you? So type quiz is where you're putting people into one of several types based on their circumstances, based on who they are. So an example of this is we have a client who built a quiz in the weight loss space selling supplements. So this is very relevant to anyone who sells supplements on Digistore, called weight loss type. So this doctor came up with this concept that there are 4 different weight loss types: type A, type I, type G, and type C. And they all correspond with a hormone imbalance in your body, whichever hormone is most out of balance. If it's ghrelin, adiponectin, insulin, or cortisol. And by asking a series of questions, he can help identify, of course, it's not a medical diagnosis, but he can help identify which hormone might most be out of balance. And based on that information, recommend the right foods to eat, foods to stay away from, exercise to participate in, and the right dietary supplementation. And so he created this quiz and sells about $7,000 or $8,000 a day in weight loss supplements on the back of this weight loss type quiz. That's a type example.
Oh, mm-hmm.
Now that's different from a killer example. Killer example is where you help people identify the biggest mistake they are making. We call it a killer or a mistake in their life. And so, for example, the example I just shared a moment ago, the golf one, that entrepreneur created a quiz. What's your number one swing killer? What's the biggest mistake you're making in your golf swing right now that's holding you back from hitting with consistency and accuracy and power? Take the quiz to find out now. So this quiz helps diagnose the biggest mistake you're making and prescribes the fix. So that's a killer quiz. Third one is what we call a score quiz. A score quiz is where you help people identify their score on a spectrum of success, right? So if you think about, think back to school, right? If you got a A or a B or a C or a D, like what's your level? What level are you at, right? Martial arts, are you white level belts, yellow level belts, black belt, brown belt? What level are you at right now? So that works to help people identify A, where they are relative to B, where they want to be, and then the gap that they have based on where they are now, where they want to be. How do you close that gap? Well, of course, that's where your product comes in.
I kind of just started, I always had a little bit of an interest in making money online because it was different than what every other person does after they graduate college. So I just kind of took that time when I was hiding and went in a deeper dive. Started going on Upwork, started finding some clients, started making connections with people. I actually came across one guy named Greg Berry. Nobody's ever heard of him, but he was running a company called BurgerBox. They were it was the first unhealthy meal kit where they mail you burgers. And Gary Vee was a partner. There were NFL players that were partners pushing this thing. And then it collapsed and the investors pulled out. But Greg was like, hey, I know in this last business you introduced us to funnels. You were doing some cool stuff. We had never heard of that before. So I want you to start a different business with me. I was like, okay. So it was called Hustle Island. And it was as an entrepreneur, you're always hustling, but sometimes it kind of feels like you're stranded on an island because nobody else can relate to you. So that's why he called it that. And it was mostly apparel and very basic education. So he'd let me take that business and try so many different things in it, and which was awesome. And I feel more well-rounded because of that. But one day he was like, hey, have you ever run an email list? We have over 100,000 people on our list. I don't know what I'm doing. Do you have any idea what you're doing? And I was like, no. And he's like, all right, you got the job. So he put me in charge of email, started sending to the list, made a lot of mistakes, but, made some money at least. And then some of my other clients that I was running Facebook ads for, I only had 2 or 3 clients at the time. They were like, hey, we need to shut the ads off. And I was like, why? And they're like, well, it's not converting on the back end. So now I was like, I have some experience in this email thing. What if I just go in and I try to get your back end, your emails to convert for you? And they were like, okay, might as well, otherwise you're fired. I was like, okay. So I went in, I had 2 different clients, and I saved both of them just by getting their emails out of spam, making the copy more appealing, and literally just sending more emails. And funny enough, what I do today is not that different than those 3 things.
Okay.
So I realized it was more of a blue ocean to go that way because at the time, at least at the beginner level that I was at, everybody was a Facebook marketer. So I just switched over to email. I got connected with Stefan Georgi and Justin Goff and got in their mastermind, made some good connections with people. In 2020, it kind of blew up just, managing email lists for people. And that's, still what I do today. And we've expanded our offerings a bit. So not only do we, do email list management, but we also just solve deliverability problems. We have a certification program now. So it's been a really fun ride, but that's how I got started. The first things that I do, if I'm setting up email for a business, is see what's going on with the offer, right? So where are they selling up front, or how are the people joining the list? And then what is the goal that you want to get them to eventually? Is it a mastermind? Is it a high ticket program? What is it? And then you think about okay, how can I bridge that gap? And the easiest way, like number one, is just get sending, right? So like you have your end goal in mind and you have where they are now. Now you just need to send something to try and get them up the ladder. Um, the second thing is just taking a look at like deliverability, right? So like just make sure that people are going to see the message, first of all. There's a lot of advanced things down the rabbit hole there. Third thing is just setting up some automation. So like when people take certain actions, there's probably certain messages that they should receive. So I just want to think through it and make sure from their shoes that they're getting what they expect. And we're kind of also like surprising them with something unique. Like I was saying, we're not going to send them coupons and discounts like everybody else does. We're going to send them something that's kind of fun. So those are some of the things that I would set up first. Some of the emails earlier on can be a little more to the point. Like if they opted in for something, like just give them the thing they opted in for and like tell them a little bit about what they're going to learn, get them excited. But then after that thing kind of wears off, that's when you can go a little bit longer. It just more so has to do with people's expectations. Like if they are waiting for something, there's no need to put them through a super long story. Just give them the thing. And that's a little bit of a shift that's going on, like you said, with people's attention spans. But yeah, you can go longer after that.
You mentioned the deliverability. How can I improve the deliverability? Because it's really hard, I think, nowadays, especially if you're a company and then you might end up in the spam folder or in the promotions tab or whatnot. Do you have any recommendations for this thing?
Yeah, so the first thing would be to like understand if you have a problem, right? That's like the first step in anything. So all you have to do, and there's services like Clock Apps. I don't know if you've heard of that, but it's like this giant testing platform where they give you like 80 email addresses and you just download it and then you upload it to your ESP and then you just send an email to all 80 and it'll tell you like how you inbox for every single one of those. They've got Google. They've got Yahoo, they've got Hotmail, they've got so many different platforms. And they have like new accounts, they have old accounts, they have personal accounts, they have business accounts. So you get like a really wide overview. Or on a very simple level, which is what we recommend people to start with, is you just send a test email to yourself. Now, typically you want to send this to a new account that's not influenced by your previous opening habits. But you just send it to like a new Gmail account and you see like, does it land in the primary inbox? Does it land in promotions? Does it land in spam? And that's how you figure out where you are. So the next thing to do if you are having problems would be to make sure that your open rates, like today with iOS 15, I like to say you want to get a minimum 20% just to be safe. I used to say 15% or like even like 12 at the lowest. But now that open rates are a little more inflated since iOS 15, like you want to hit at least 20% minimum. And that'll keep you super safe, right? Because if you're getting really low open rates, Google and Yahoo, they just pretty much look at you and they're like, well, I guess nobody wants to read these. Spam. And you're like really confused at that point. You don't know what to do. So you just want to make sure you get really high open rates. And if you're stuck and you start getting really high open rates, then Google and Yahoo and all those guys will be like, okay, people want to read these again. So then they pull you out. So that's the basic level of what to do, just segmenting by engagement. But on top of that, you can also use sites like mailgenius.com and it'll tell you like if you have any specific like spam triggers, like any specific words that might be putting you in the spam folder. Or let's say you've got something messed up on the technical side. So this is probably going to be way down the rabbit hole for a lot of people, but there's like SPF, DKIM, DMARC, and like that site will tell you if you've got something wrong. Now, if you don't know how to fix that, I recommend you reach out to somebody like myself and we can take care of that for you. But those are some things that kind of commonly go wrong.
I spend a lot of time every week, even now, like researching and spying and seeing on other people's ads, like what's working right now on Facebook. And so that's the best educator, I think, is seeing what people are running right now currently that Facebook is allowing. And when you do that, you're just going to model that for your own success. And that's That's a big one because, if I look at ads and I say, okay, this ad is running, this ad has been running for 3, 4, 5 months, has tons of engagement on it, it's a good chance it's making money. So I'm going to model that for my own ad copy, and so that's the thing is, and the last thing I'll say about that too, Sven, is like you have to, your ad copy and how you write should be it should be in first person most of the time. It should be very conversational, and it should be very social because it shouldn't be so direct response with your ad copy because Facebook is not a direct response type of thing. It's a social platform, and so you have to be social with your ad copy by telling stories, and that makes a huge difference in your from compliance, but also in conversions and sales too. Hey, the product's one thing, but you gotta get your marketing dialed in. You gotta be able to get it out there, and that's so important. And so that's why, honestly, like one of the reasons why I've had my success is because I've learned that a long time ago. I mean, I used to have a lot of different products, and then I quickly realized that, wow, maybe if I focus on one product, which for me was Commission Hero, my course, I've had Commission Hero for almost 3 years now. I mean, that's the only course and the only program I promote on paid advertising for my stuff. And other people I know in the space, I mean, they're probably on their 5th, 6th, 7th course already, that they've created. And I'm like, no, I'm still beating that Commission Hero drum, and I'm still optimizing it, still improving it. And I think that, you're going to get so much farther in your journey focusing on one thing at a time and working on the marketing to grow that one thing than you are doing, 25, 26 different things at the same time. Because, the other thing, people think that in order to make more money online, you have to do more things. When quite frankly, it's the opposite. You got to do less things to make more money online.
If you enjoyed this episode, hit the subscribe button and never miss an episode of Svencast again.